There are moments in life when we stand alone in the dark, surrounded by echoes of our own doubts, our failures replaying behind closed eyes. I want you to picture this. It's 3 a.m., the world is silent, but your mind is roaring. You're staring at the ceiling, asking the question you never say aloud. Will I ever be whole again? Maybe your hands tremble from a battle with addiction, your body aches from illness, or your spirit is so heavy sleep becomes an act of courage. Maybe your smile is just a mask. Let me tell you a story that is mine, yours, and ours, a story millions have lived. It starts not with triumph, but with brokenness. I remember a time when hope was just a rumor and joy a distant memory. I remember waking up and wishing I hadn't. I remember feeling like an outsider in my own life, the pain of addiction gnawing at my will, the fatigue from illness draining my last reserves, the quiet suffocation of depression stealing the color from each day. But what I discovered in those nights of despair, when I thought I had lost everything, was something more valuable than any easy victory. If you are listening to this, if these words are finding you somewhere in your darkness, know that you are exactly where your transformation begins. The greatest journeys don't start with comfort. They begin with the courage to face your own suffering. I am Jay Shetty, and my mission is to serve. Not from a place of having all the answers, but from the deep certainty that, no matter how shattered life leaves us, we are not our worst moments. We are not the sum of our mistakes, nor the byproduct of our struggles. Our pain is real, but it doesn't have to be permanent. The human soul, your soul, is resilient beyond measure. In this speech, we travel together through the shadows, addiction, illness, the torment of identity loss, so that together, we emerge not merely surviving, but unstoppable. We'll talk honestly about falling apart, about hitting rock bottom, and what it means to awaken to possibility even when possibility seems cruelly out of reach. There is a path out of this. A path to healing, to purpose, to peace, one step at a time. I will share tools not just to cope, but to create. Stories not just of pain, but of perseverance. Lessons not just for surviving, but for building a new self, stronger and wiser than before. Let's begin together. It doesn't happen all at once. Suffering is patient, a silent architect. One day you're laughing with friends, dreams tucked safely in your pocket. Slowly, like a leak in the roof, pain drips through. Maybe it's a habit that starts as comfort and curdles into addiction. A diagnosis that turns your body into an unfamiliar territory. A wound that festers in your heart after someone walks away, or after hope itself packs its bags. For me, it was a quiet unraveling. The world kept moving, but I moved through it numb. Addiction is a thief. It steals the best parts of you, and if you're not careful, it replaces them with shame. Illness, a constant reminder of what you can't control, what you can't fix with willpower or wit. Depression is unkind. It tells you that you don't belong, that you don't matter. Anxiety is a storm that never passes, a mind racing on treadmills of worry. I tried to bargain with my pain. I'll stop tomorrow. I'll be better when this is over. This doesn't define me. But at night, the truth whispered louder. My life felt like a movie I was watching, not living. I saw myself through the eyes of friends and didn't recognize the character on screen. Identity slips away quietly. You stop pursuing the things you loved, music, walks, time with friends. You start hiding. Hiding from questions, from the mirror, even from yourself. On social media, you post the happy moments, but inside, you're curled up, frightened by how empty joy has become. If you've walked this road, you know the isolation. People mean well, but their words are off-key. Just snap out of it. You have so much to be grateful for. So you armor yourself with silence. You tell people you're fine. But the truth is, you're afraid you're beyond repair. Shame is the heaviest chain. It makes you believe you are your worst days. It tells you recovery is for someone stronger, that forgiveness is for someone more deserving. The voice in your head becomes relentless. If I was worth saving, I wouldn't be here. In illness, your body betrays you. In addiction, your mind betrays you. In trauma, reality itself begins to blur. Maybe you weren't good enough, strong enough, smart enough to have stopped it. The self-loathing grows. Laughter at parties feels hollow. You wonder, is anyone else as broken as I am? The answer is yes. More people than you realize are battling unseen wars, crying in showers, waking up each day dreading the sun. You are not alone. But isolation tricks you into forgetting that healing is possible. It tells you the descent is all there is. But here's the hidden truth. In the darkness, the first embers of transformation begin to glow. Every tear, every desperate plea for help, every sleepless night, these are not absurdities. They are your soul's rebellion against remaining stuck. They are proof that deep down, you want to live. Rock bottom is not a place, it's a state of being. It's waking up realizing you cannot go on as you are, but you are terrified of changing. For some, it's an overdose. For others, a hospital bed and the cold fluorescent lights above. Maybe it's the moment a friend says, "I can't watch you do this to yourself." Or the day your reflection finally speaks the truth back at you. For me, the breaking point came in a moment of harrowing clarity. I had just lost a friend, someone who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. Their passing shook me, not simply with grief, but with the realization that life is not a rehearsal. The small painkillers of habit could never numb that loss. No amount of distraction could fill the void. One night, sitting alone, I whispered the words that changed everything. I need help. Saying it out loud didn't fix anything instantly. But it shattered the illusion that I could do it on my own, that pride or ego would be my savior. In that moment of vulnerability, I remembered the words of a mentor. Pain is the greatest teacher, if you stop running from its lessons. I picked up a book I hadn't finished, a journal dusty from neglect. I wrote down what I was most afraid to admit. I don't love who I've become. Awakening doesn't come as a lightning bolt. It comes as trembling hope. As a quiet morning when you realize, for the first time in months, you can taste your coffee. It's the warmth of a friend's hand you almost pushed away. It's starting therapy, even when the first session feels awkward and fragile. It's Googling how to forgive yourself, then crying with relief when you realize you're not the only one searching alone at midnight. A spiritual teacher told me, if you want a new outcome, you must become someone new. Pain is not just an ending. It's the beginning of self-discovery. Our suffering shows us the cracks in the walls we built to keep ourselves safe. If we learn to see, every crack is a door. Rock bottom revealed my brokenness, but it also exposed the blueprint for rebuilding. I started to look at my pain not as a flaw, but as an invitation. The invitation was clear: heal, or stay here forever. The choice was, and always is, yours. In those moments of awakening, small and stubborn, I realized, I am not my addiction. I am not my illness. I am not my trauma. I am the one who survived. I am the one still fighting. This is the moment the story shifts. Healing is not a sprint, it's a patient, messy climb. Each day, the smallest win, a day without relapse, a morning with less pain, a minute spent in peace, becomes a stepping stone. My healing journey began with acceptance. I stopped waging war on myself for being broken. Instead, I learned to hold my pain with compassion, like watching a storm from a safe shelter. Meditation became my anchor. Every morning, I sat in stillness, wrestling with my thoughts, learning to let them roam without judgment. Some days I found calm. Other days I wept. Both were acts of healing. Journaling gave me a voice. I poured onto the page every regret, every hope, every fragment of a life I wasn't sure how to reclaim. The words gave shape to the chaos, helping me see patterns, a map to my pain and slowly to my release. Therapy was my lifeboat. I learned that vulnerability isn't weakness. It is the only way to mend what's been shattered. I spoke aloud the things I'd hidden for years. In the trusting gaze of a counselor, I found the courage to face the worst parts of my story. Externally, I began to change my environment. I cleared out spaces cluttered with the debris of my old habits. I left behind toxic relationships, even when it hurt. I reached out to new circles, recovery groups, honest friends, people who believed in my healing even on days I doubted it. Jay Shetty often speaks about the importance of intention. So I gave my mornings a purpose. Each day, I asked myself, who do I want to be today? Small practices became sacred. Mindful breathing, gratitude journaling, cold showers to shock my body into wakefulness, reading verses or poems that reminded me hope is real. Forgiveness became a daily ritual. Not just forgiving those who hurt me, but forgiving myself for the years I lost. Each act of forgiveness chipped away at the weight of shame. Each word of kindness to myself healed the scar. Discipline didn't come easily. There were days I failed, days when the old cravings returned, days when my body betrayed me. But discipline asked me not for perfection, only for persistence. Just try again, today, now, this minute. And so I did. My healing journey began with acceptance. I stopped waging war on myself for being broken. Instead, I learned to hold my pain with compassion, like watching a storm from a safe shelter. Meditation became my anchor. Every morning, I sat in stillness, wrestling with my thoughts, learning to let them roam without judgment. Some days I found calm, other days I wept. Both were acts of healing. Journaling gave me a voice. I poured onto the page every regret, every hope, every fragment of a life I wasn't sure how to reclaim. The words gave shape to the chaos, helping me see patterns, a map to my pain and slowly to my release. Therapy was my lifeboat. I learned that vulnerability isn't weakness. It is the only way to mend what's been shattered. I spoke aloud the things I'd hidden for years. In the trusting gaze of a counselor, I found the courage to face the worst parts of my story. Externally, I began to change my environment. I cleared out spaces cluttered with the debris of my old habits. I left behind toxic relationships, even when it hurt. I reached out to new circles, recovery groups, honest friends, people who believed in my healing even on days I doubted it. Jay Shetty often speaks about the importance of intention. So I gave my mornings a purpose. Each day, I asked myself, who do I want to be today? Small practices became sacred. Mindful breathing, gratitude journaling, cold showers to shock my body into wakefulness, reading verses or poems that reminded me hope is real. Forgiveness became a daily ritual. Not just forgiving those who hurt me, but forgiving myself for the years I lost. Each act of forgiveness chipped away at the weight of shame. Each word of kindness to myself healed the scar. Discipline didn't come easily. There were days I failed, days when the old cravings returned, days when my body betrayed me. But discipline asked me not for perfection, only for persistence. Just try again, today, now, this minute. And so I did. As I journeyed inward, I remembered Jay Shetty's wisdom. The ego clings to struggle, to stories of victimhood. Mindfulness allowed me to detach. I am not just my story, I am the author, and I can choose a new chapter. Slowly, the darkness lifted. Not completely, not forever, but enough to see the world anew. I built new habits, honest conversations instead of escape, reading instead of numbing, gratitude in place of regret. Each day was progress, not perfection. Healing is not a straight line. I stumbled, doubted, wept. But I kept moving, led by a faith in something greater, call it spirit, love, resilience. Over time, the mirror began to show me not my scars, but my strength. There comes a day when you realize you are no longer surviving, you are living. The journey from brokenness to unstoppable is not about becoming someone flawless, but about becoming someone who rises, again and again. Rebuilding my life meant redefining progress. Success was not never falling, but getting up every single time. Each failure was a teacher, each heartbreak, a doorway to greater empathy. Through the pain, my compassion deepened, for myself and for others facing silent battles. I shifted my mindset from, "Why me?" to, "What next?" I stopped viewing my past as an anchor and started using it as a compass. The very struggles that nearly broke me became my superpowers: resilience, patience, wisdom. I learned the difference between discipline and self-punishment, between hope and denial, between self-love and ego. Each day became intentional. I nurtured relationships, not just those who celebrated my highs but those who stood with me in my lows. I protected my boundaries. I honored my body, no matter what it could or couldn't do. I spoke my truth without apology. Progress revealed itself not as a destination but a journey. Some days, thriving meant getting a speech. Other days, it meant getting out of bed. Both were victories.